Hi, Fraser.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Uh, Today we are ranking you're ranking the entire long list for
Uh,
the Booker 2022. And I'm
yes.
ranking the 5 that I picked up.
Yeah, probably wisely, as people will see.
Yeah, yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. Yeah. Well, the way we're going to do this video is Fraser is going to talk about his bottom 6, the ones that aren't on his what is it, short list?
Yeah.
What would you
Short
call
list.
it? Yeah,
Just short
the
list.
short list possibles or whatever, like your ideal short list. That's what I was going
Ideal.
for.
Yes.
And I'm going to talk about my bottom 2, and then we are going to kind of create a ideal short list, or you're going to talk about your top 6 and I'm going to talk about my top 3, because I only read 3 books that I would be happy to see in the short list.
And for all we know, they overlap anyway, so maybe it will just be one short list to rule them all.
Perhaps I can think of perhaps a couple of books that might not overlap, but we'll see, because we don't know each other's bottom and top. This will be a discovery for us too.
Yes.
Yeah, and if any of that was unclear, I will leave a timestamp, a roadmap to the video down below, and links to all of the single book reviews and reviews that we've done about these books in case you want more context. All right, what is your bottom 6?
Okay, so dead last, Night Crawling.
By Layla Motley, right?
Yes. Oh, I didn't put the names of the authors. I just made
That's
a
all
short
right.
list.
It's okay.
The
The book titles will pop up, but go ahead.
Okay, and then Glory is after that, and these 2 I haven't done a review on, but they're both DNFs. Glory, I just couldn't accept the conceit of the actual novel, like it was hitting my brain not well, and the satirical voice hurt me as well. It pained me. It caused me physical illness. No, I'm just kidding. I did not like it. And then Night Crawling, I just didn't like the writing at all. And for that one, maybe people can just check out our flops.
Yes, because there is a rant about Night Crawling. Okay. Okay, so now getting to the non-DNFs, these were just not the bad reads, maybe? Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Next is Booth.
Oh, by Karen Joy Fowler. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Booth.
It was still good. It just didn't make the cut. And then Trust. After
Trust
that,
by Herman Diaz, right?
yes, Hernan, I think.
Hernan.
And Small Things Like These.
That Doesn't Surprise Me by Claire Keegan. The super short, almost novella, huh? Novella length novel that is sort of all about warm, bubbly feelings, which we are not about on this channel.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
After Sappho.
Okay, by Selby Wynn Schwartz.
And the last one, The 7 Moons of Maali, Almeida, just barely did not make the cut for me.
Oh, okay. So it was the top of the worst.
Yes, the best worst book, but it was still 4 stars, and yeah, so.
Yeah, and you told me that you enjoyed it for the most part.
For the most part.
Yes. Okay, well, my bottom 2 are the one I DNF, Night Crawling by Layla Motley. I didn't like this because I called it plot vomit. Like, that's what I called it. It was just like so much plot happened and it was there to set up the story, but I felt like I had to suspend my disbelief in such a way that it just pissed me off eventually. I was just like, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying this story. So I DNF'd it.
What about the similes though?
Yeah, the similes were pretty bad.
Yeah.
I was like, girl, you needed an editor, a writing coach. Okay, I'm going to stop because I feel like people are going to get mad. And then my other one also aligns with yours, and that's After Sappho by Selby Wynn Schwartz. It just was too meandering and too unfocused for my liking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We zoomed through that because we want to spend more of our time talking about the books that worked for us. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what on your short list, number 6 and 5, what are those for you?
Number 6, Oh William.
Oh William! Yay!
And
By Elizabeth
then,
Strout. By Elizabeth Strout.
yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And then Case Study by Graeme, Macrae, Burnet. I got one.
I was like, Graeme something.
Yes.
Okay, can you tell me why these are there?
So all of these are 5-star reads for me, but I feel like Oh William was more of like, for me anyway, a lot of what hit about it came from reading the 2 prior books, which feels like a distinct disadvantage for a book that's on a prize list. Like, if you have to read the 2 prior books to get the full effect or whatever, I think otherwise it would have been a 4-star read for me if I hadn't seen the whole continuation or whatever of everything. And so that's why, it had to be last, because it stands on the bones of the dead. No.
Yeah, the bones of the previous marks. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Case Study, I really, really enjoyed, but what I liked most about it was that it was very fun and enjoyable. And so it wasn't as engaging as other things that were trying to do the same, but also communicate higher stuff, like theme-wise. It packed more of a punch, I think.
Oh, okay. All right,
How
Case
about
Study
you?
is still in my mind. Okay, so my number 3, so my top 3, but the bottom of the 3 is Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies by Maddie Mortimer. So, which I enjoyed. I thought it was really great. I listened to this on audio, which I think was wonderful for some parts of it, but then I also was able to look at the text, and there is a lot of experimentation with her writing. We actually read this together, listened to it together. I thought the plot was really strong. It's all about a woman who is right off the bat, she's diagnosed with cancer, and it's working through her past and also like bringing that sort of self-forgiveness up into the present as she's working through the relationship with her mother and relationship with first loves, and currently she's working through a relationship with her daughter. So I really like the themes, but actually one of the things that I disliked about it was that there was constant breaks in the narration for experimental wordplay. And for the most part that worked, except sometimes I just found it kind of grating. Like, I was so into the story that I was like, why do we have to stop? Why do we have to stop and pause for like a little like wordplay? And so anyway, so I think also the experience of reading it versus listening to it will render 2 very different experiences, which I don't think I would normally feel. But yeah, so that's why it was 3rd, but I still thought it was a really strong book.
Excellent.
Okay, so what is your number 4 and 3?
So next we have Treacle Walker.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that book by Alan something.
Garner, I think.
Alan Garner. Yeah.
And I thought it was just fantastic. It's like a breath of fresh air. Going back to like folklore and mythology, steeped in a very hyper specific area in Britain that I didn't know anything about, but made more interesting because some of the wordplay just seems like it would be made up, but when you Google it, it actually is just antiquated or colloquialisms that are used, and it really elucidates like what is happening, even when it feels like it's actual nonsense. So there's like a lot of fun in reading it if you want to engage with it that way. And it's why some people are just sort of like, I didn't get it, like flew right over my head. You have to, I think, engage with what it is doing. But the most fun that I had with it is that it presents sort of like normal objects and recontextualizes their meaning for the story. and then kind of arranges them to create something that you could probably never see coming, and also say something very historical. And it just yeah, a complete 180 from modern fantasy, what modern fantasy is coming out with right now, which I hate. I hate it. So this was just like, yes. All of it.
This is a Fraser book.
Yes.
To the max.
Yes. And I should say these 4 that I'm talking about are pretty much interchangeable. Like all of them are number 1 books for me, like tied basically. So yeah, it'd be very hard for me to arrange them in order. So it's almost arbitrary what the order is, but I've tried.
Tried. Okay. So
Yeah.
that was number 4. So then what's number 3?
Next is The Colony by Audrey Magee.
I thought you were going to get there. Then I was like, are you going to get there? Okay.
Yes. And this is a really fantastic book, I thought.
Wait a second. So this is my number 2. So this is so we're kind of at the right. Go ahead.
So it's like tied, right? Like same spot-ish.
Similar spot, yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
The Colony. Okay, go ahead though.
And I read this on audio and on text, which really augmented the experience for me, I think. Just because hearing the things pronounced correctly, everybody's names correctly, and the different accents and stuff, it just was really immersive, I found. And it's about a English painter and a French academic linguist who goes to a colony of Irish people in which they're still speaking the
Gaelic.
Yeah, in a unadulterated, unfiltered manner for the most part, though it's been contaminated somewhat. And the Englishman is there to paint the bluffs and all that kind of stuff. That's all he cares about. He doesn't care about the people. He just wants to paint and get rediscovered. And he, from the onset of the book, is literally colonizing the book for that purpose. He is co-opting the culture and the landscape in order to get acclaim for himself. And then the Frenchman is seemingly more well-mannered, but it is actually just perpetuating a different form of colonialism in studying their language. He's ascribing meaning to everybody else in the world in a very prescriptive manner, not allowing them to speak about what their culture is actually like. And he's kind of missing the point anyway, because there are people there that, unbeknownst to him, are not participating in his study in good faith anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And then interspersed with that are actual IRA bombings and killings that are taking place that are nonfiction, actually happened accounts in 1979, if I remember correctly, ratcheting up the tension for purposes we know not which.
Yes. That was a really good summary of The Colony, because that is what it is about. There's also a lot of play with language, and when you are in, so the way the book works is that sometimes you're in the head of the artist and sometimes you're in the head of the academic. And the way that Audrey Magee decides to approach that is that with the artist, when you're inside his head, it's very linear kind of writing. So there are these like almost just little like list-like thoughts. And then with the academic, it's like block text, almost like stream of consciousness without a period type of text, if I remember correctly. And so it's very interesting because you have these two people that are kind of pushing and pulling at each other's ideas. And the tension between the two, I thought was really fascinating. The writing is really beautiful. The setting is gorgeous. And you really feel like you're there, I think.
Yes.
And I love that it's like this extremely remote place. There was something that really spoke to me about that. Just quiet solitude almost. Yeah. All right. So what is your number 2 book?
Oh yeah, because I co-opted your spot.
Well, I was like, wait, let me, no. I was like, wait, let me just say it up front so I don't have to recap anything. It was my number 2 was The Colony by Audrey Magee. Okay, go ahead now.
Okay. So next is The Trees by Percival Everett. I know this one. This
Great
is
name.
a really interesting book that is hard also to talk about. So it's one part, I would say, crime, little bit of noir thing happening. At least that's how it kicks off, with a very heavy satirical voice that worked for me. It is about two MBI, yeah, Mississippi Bureau of Investigation people. Two Black men are called to a predominantly white, very small town that is very racist. And they are investigating a very strange murder in which, I believe it's in a bathtub, if I remember correctly, two bodies are found, one black, one white, and the Black man is in a strange pose that seems posed, basically, and not an organic manner of death, basically. And he's also holding the attestes of the white man in his hands.
Every time.
And they're both dead somehow. So it seems like, it's a mystery. How did they even get into this position? You would think that the circumstances would be impossible. And throughout the investigation, things spiral into a more surrealistic manner that I don't want to give too much away on, but it becomes a whole different thing. The crime aspect is the entry point into something much deeper and much darker. And the satirical bent sort of takes more of a hold in the latter half after that.
I've heard that it's the wit is really good in the writing, and it's very deadpan. It's super funny, but it's also really deadpan, which is, I own this, I just haven't read it yet. I actually think it'll make the shortlist, which is probably why I've been holding off on it. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people praise it because it's like it's sort of shockingly funny in some parts and just well written all around.
Yeah, the only major detractors that people seem to find is if they just aren't into the actual voice and the satirical voice, because it's very heavily steeped in that. And so if you aren't along for that ride, then it's going to be not for you for sure. But if you are, then it's going to be a good time.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. All right, do you want to reveal your number one, or do you want me to reveal my number one?
You first. Or yeah
It doesn't matter. Okay, so my number one was Oh William by what is her name?
Strout.
Elizabeth Strout. I was like, I've been all up on the names, and then I get to mine. I'm like, yeah, the reason why I chose this is because though I think that you're right that some of the punch of this book has to do with the previous two books, I actually don't know if you would have to read all three in order to read this, but I do think it is more impactful if you read the previous books. But it is all about this writer named Lucy Barton, who is thinking about her husband or her ex-husband, and she's thinking about him in like why she was attracted to him, what drew her to him, what qualities in her brought her to her husband. But the thing that I keep thinking about is there's this line where she's like, how can we really know someone else, and how can we really know ourselves? And I think that really just summed up the book. And so a lot of it is her processing what this relationship meant to her, and it's still ongoing. We have a guest. Yay!
Yeah.
Anyways, the book was surprising and enjoyable, and I think that it's the book that I've continued to think about. So even though I read The Colony a little bit further back, it doesn't seem to come back to me. I don't continue to think about it. But Oh William, I still continue to think about, and I'm inspired to read the next book in the series, which I feel like is a really great impact. It's like a really impactful book if the reader continues to want to read the series, which the next book is coming out very soon. So
yeah, I think it manages to do something particularly special with intersections of like poverty, abuse, and different marginalizations like that can speak to pretty much everyone, or at least it certainly did with me. And for me, the first two books kept trying to strike that note, and it rang like a little bit false for me, like it was a little too constructed, whereas this was completely organic and absolutely like the best version of the theme that she was trying to communicate throughout it.
Yeah. I've never quite had that type of experience. Like, I don't tend to read a lot of books by one author. I tend to just sort of pick, like, skim the top of the best of the best.
Yeah.
But so I was like, when I got to Lucy Barton, which I read last, My Name is Lucy Barton, I realized that that is really the weakest. And you see her trying to develop these themes of impacts of long-lasting impacts of poverty and abuse in the household. And she tries, and then the next book she's trying, and I thought it was the next book, which is Anything is Possible, was more successful. And then with Oh William, I thought it just exploded. I thought it was just fantastic.
Yes. Agreed.
I thought it was
Agreed.
great. So what's your number one book?
Number one is Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies by Maddie Mortimer. But I do have to agree with you that I don't know how I will feel after I get the physical book and I consume it, because I've only seen or consumed it on audio, and I haven't even I've seen like a few page grabs or whatever of the text, but that's about it. So I don't know, but on audio, the sort of like vignettes or the fleeting aspect of it only made me more engaged, because it made me like more puzzled as to what is going on. And so then it was like catnip for me, where I was just like, why is it doing this? What's going on? And then I kept trying to figure it out, and that was just like a fun experience for me. I was like, oh, so this is like actually a map of a body. I like that. Form meets function. Anytime somebody even like tries to nail that, I'm just like, check marks.
Yeah.
And
I really enjoyed, the wordplay was really great.
Yeah,
it was really impressive. But go ahead, what were you going to say?
I really enjoyed how much it has to say on the subject from multiple different perspectives. In fact, sometimes I feel like I read a different book than other people because I've seen like negative reviews to see what the critique is, and some people are like, oh, the characters feel really like cardboard cutout-y and stuff, and I was just like, I thought they were super well constructed, because the mark of good characterization for me is contradictions in the characters existing at one time. And I feel like a lot of people that do character work eschew that completely. Like, they just don't understand how those two mutually exclusive things could be true in a human body, basically. Whereas all of the characters have those things in this book. And so when people say it's like meandering and goes to places that doesn't completely matter towards the plot, I was like, I think they just don't understand what those pieces were doing, because it's not wholly considerate of the prescribed motivation that they see in the character. Whereas for me, I was like, this is how we get a comprehensive view of a human being, basically.
I thought it was super well plotted, super well plotted. I mean, the only reason why it ranked third was some of the experimental stuff. But Maddie Mortimer, who is 19, by the way, or at least she was 19 when she was nominated for the Booker, or when this came out. She's about that age. I'm very interested. I'm following her career with great interest, because if she's showing this much promise with characterization and with the plot, then I'm really curious as to what she'll do in the future. Just because I thought it was so well done. Yeah, the plot itself was, I thought, great. It was great.
Yeah, like how the internalized voice of the person diagnosed with cancer progresses. I thought it was just, it completely worked for me. And it's another sticking point for other people. I think if you have like a really personal experience with it already and it doesn't match what you're going for and stuff, then you're going to grind against it. But I think they actually kind of miss the point of the voice, because I've seen a lot of people label it as just cancer voice, when it actually progresses to an internalized notion of who she is well beyond cancer. That just is how it appears at the beginning. And so it masterfully, I think, gets away from the very high specificity of this one specific dealing with cancer, and instead it completely characterizes the internalized notions of what the character knows and does not know about herself.
Right.
And that expansion makes it really important because it's not just the cancer voice.
No, it's not. It's really not. It's the voice of many parts of her body, and many of those parts are in conflict with one another, which are in conflict with her actual consciousness. So it was, which I thought was really well done, and really fascinating.
So I think it's just hitting people in personal areas, and then they have a reaction to it and dislike it sometimes, because I've seen cardboard cutout and cancer voice really a lot in like 1 or 2 star reviews. And so I don't know, but everything about it worked for me. It was like a catnip audio experience where I think I consumed it in like less than 24 hours.
Oh yeah, you were like, I'm done. And I was like, not me.
Yeah. I was just like, and I can't stop listening. This is a Neapolitan experience.
Yeah, because you and Ferrante.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is, if I can say it, that is our ideal shortlist. The best shortlist out there is my top 3, which is actually in line with your top 6. So that works.
Boom.
Yeah.
It is congruent.
Yeah. Well, we are going to do some sort of reaction. I don't really know how we're going to do it, but come back to one of our channels and we will react to the shortlist.
I think our video should be judging the judges of the Booker.
Yes. Okay, so we're getting kind of meta here. This is probably our time to go.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming. Bye.